There is a secret known only to those who walk barefoot through the storm. Monks whisper of it beneath moonlight. Sages write it in ink no eye can see. It is the sacred law of presence, the divine feminine energy that does not chase, not beg, but commands the universe through stillness. Not every woman holds it, but when she does, she becomes unforgettable. And when she embodies it, the man who once wavered begins to fear her absence more than he ever feared his own loneliness. Stay until the end, because in the hidden days of the calendar, between the 9th and the 12th, something stirs. A cosmic window opens, and if you are not prepared, you may miss the very moment your destiny knocks. There is a power that cannot be seen, only felt. It does not shout. It does not rush. It sits quietly at the edge of the forest, like a stone beneath moss, unmoved, but always present. This is the power of the silent presence. A woman who embodies this knows something rare. The most commanding force is not found in assertion, but in stillness. In a world that measures worth by attention and validation, she moves differently, not to be unseen, but to become unforgettable. She does not need to convince a man of her value. She simply holds herself in the energy of knowing. When she enters a room, she does not try to fill it. She lets the room make space for her. There is a story told in the mountains of Shaolin. A disciple once asked the master, "How do I command respect without raising my voice?" The master replied, "Watch the moon. It commands the tide, yet never speaks." The student sat for 7 nights beneath the open sky. On the 8th night, he no longer needed the answer. He had become it. The woman who learns to embody this becomes like the moon. Not pulling, not pleading, yet everything around her shifts. The masculine does not awaken through pressure. It awakens in the face of mystery. The mystery of her stillness, her self-assurance, her refusal to entertain anything less than sacred treatment. In nature, the lioness does not roar to be known. She observes, she waits, she chooses. And it is because of her restraint that the pride follows her. In daily life, we often feel the urge to speak, to explain our worth, to justify our feelings, to prove that we are enough. But the most powerful feminine energy is the one that has nothing to prove. She does not demand love. She becomes the place where love desires to dwell. Imagine these 2 women sit in silence. One grows anxious, begins to fidget, fills the air with nervous energy. The other remains composed, eyes steady, breath calm. Guess which one is remembered? The first is chasing something. The second already possesses it. Such is the nature of the silent presence. Lao Tzu once said, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." This does not mean one must become mute. It means that sacred energy is preserved, not scattered. When a woman masters this, a man begins to fear not her anger, but her absence. He begins to wonder why she does not need to explain herself, why she does not run after him when he withdraws, why in her quiet there is more power than in 1,000 words. And in that wondering he is drawn in. The river does not chase the boat, but the boat must learn to follow the current. Stillness is not passivity. It is the highest form of self-command. It says, "I am not here to chase your affection. I am here to honor my presence." And it is in that energy that a woman becomes undeniable. We now step softly into the second understanding, that which governs the unseen thread guiding all life. It is called intuition. But those who have walked the path longer call it the whisper of the divine. Feminine intuition is not a feeling. It is a knowing that comes before thought. It is the quiet tug in the stomach, the gentle resistance in the chest, the pull behind the eyes. It is not logical, yet it is rarely wrong. Many women ignore this voice, not because it is silent, but because the noise of the world is louder. The voice says, "He is not ready." But the heart insists, "I can fix him." The voice says, let go. But the fear says, what if I never find better? And so we suffer. Not because we lacked answers, but because we refuse to listen. There is a story from an old monastery. A young monk was told to climb the mountain before sunrise and return with water from the sacred spring. He rushed up the mountain, eager to please. Along the way, he passed a bird whose wing was broken. He ignored it. He passed a cracked stone with water seeping through. He stepped over it. At the summit, he found the spring had dried. He returned to the master empty-handed. The master asked, "Did you not hear the signs?" The boy replied, "There were no signs." The master looked into the forest and said, "Then you were not listening. Intuition speaks not in language, but in signs. A missed call at a sacred hour, a name repeated 3 times in one day, a sudden chill when speaking someone's name. The ancient ones do not call this coincidence, they call it a message. Intuition is how the divine feminine navigates a world built for logic. She does not follow maps, she follows energy. In nature, a mother deer senses danger before the wind even shifts. She cannot see the hunter, but she knows. That knowing saves her. That knowing is in you. In personal life, every woman has had the moment. She knew he wasn't being honest. She knew something was ending. She knew she had to leave. And only later did the truth surface, proving what she already felt. Do not abandon your inner compass. It does not require permission to speak, but it does require stillness to be heard. The most radiant feminine energy is the one that says, I trust myself more than I trust your words. I trust timing more than I trust urgency. I trust the quiet more than I trust the noise. And when a man feels that, when he senses you are guided by something deeper than his affection, he begins to take you seriously because he knows you are not moved by his promises. You are moved by alignment, and alignment cannot be faked. Philosopher Zhuangzi once wrote, "Chuo, the wise man is hidden, watching the chaos of the world with calm eyes. So too is the wise woman. She watches, listens, and when the moment is right, she moves." This is not manipulation. This is mastery. It is the art of trusting the invisible. It is the courage to wait, to pause when everyone else is running, to stay silent when others shout, to walk away, not in anger, but in peace. And it is in that peace that your power lies. The silent presence, the sacred intuition. These are not qualities to develop, they are truths to remember. You were born with them, but the world taught you to forget. Now, it is time to return, to sit with your breath, to honor the signs, to stop chasing and start listening. Because the moment you do, he will begin to feel something ancient stir in his soul. Not fear of your anger, fear of losing something sacred. And that is what makes him take you seriously. There is a sacred loneliness known only to those who are being prepared. A loneliness not born of abandonment, but of selection. The chosen ones walk alone first, not because they are unloved, but because the love destined for them requires a soul polished by solitude. To be chosen by fate means to be separated from the crowd, and often it is in the silence of isolation that your destiny begins to whisper. Before the sun reveals itself, the sky must darken. And before the right one can recognize you, you must first recognize yourself. This is a truth few accept because the path of awakening is not lined with comfort. It is carved through valleys of waiting, through seasons where nothing blooms, and through mornings where your reflection feels distant, unanchored. And yet, these are the very moments the soul is being woven into something rare. A monk once told the tale of a sacred bell buried deep beneath the earth. It rang only once every 100 years. But when it did, the sound could be heard across valleys and mountaintops. A disciple asked, "Why only once in a century?" The master replied, Because something truly sacred must echo beyond time. If it sounded every day, it would become noise. So too is your presence. When it is given too often and too easily, it becomes background. When it is refined in silence and offered only when aligned, it becomes unforgettable. In daily life, this looks like the woman who no longer tries to convince someone to see her worth. She does not linger in rooms where her name is forgotten. She does not cling to half-hearted affection. Instead, she withdraws, not in bitterness, but in reverence. She walks alone through her season of becoming, trusting that divine love is not attracted to desperation, but to depth. And when a man meets her, truly meets her, he knows she is not like the others. Her eyes have seen the shadow and did not run. Her heart has broken, not once, but many times, and still she chooses softness over bitterness. She is not seeking a savior. She has already met her own soul. Such a woman forces reflection in the man who encounters her. She becomes a mirror, not of what he wants, but of what he lacks. And in her stillness, he must confront whether he is prepared to rise or fade. The philosopher Rumi once wrote, "You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life?" But the wings he speaks of are not given all at once. They grow in solitude, in silence, in choosing self-respect over longing. The chosen woman does not chase. She waits not for a man. For the moment, the universe aligns her with someone who speaks her soul's language. From this place of sacred solitude, we step into another layer of the journey, the realm of divine timing. There is a rhythm that lives beneath the surface of all things. Seasons do not bloom at random, rivers do not rush without reason, and souls do not collide by coincidence. Everything, in its own mysterious way, is held in a sacred timing. To understand divine timing is to surrender control. It is to accept that love, like the moon, cannot be summoned on command. You do not force the sun to rise. You simply prepare for its light. Between the 9th and the 12th of the month, there is often a thinning of the veil, a window where energies shift, hearts stir, and truths come to light. These days do not promise comfort, promise clarity, and in that clarity, we are either aligned or tested. There is an old parable told among mountain hermits. A farmer planted 2 seeds beneath the soil. Each day he watered and tended to them equally. One sprouted within days. The other lay dormant, hidden beneath the earth. Villagers mocked the second seed, claiming it was dead. But the farmer continued to wait. After 1 year, the second seed broke the surface and grew into a tree that bore fruit for a lifetime. The first, it bloomed quickly, but withered just as fast. The lesson is this: what is slow is not lost. It is deepening. So many women rush the unfolding. They cling to early signs and demand answers. But what is destined requires patience. Not because it is cruel, but because it must root deeply before it can grow. In your own life, you may recall moments where you forced connections, rushed relationships, or ignored red flags out of fear of missing your chance. But destiny cannot be missed. What is yours will echo again and again until you are ready to hear it. There is a tree in the forest that only blooms at night. No one sees its first blossom, but it blooms anyway. So too must you prepare, not for being seen, but for being ready. Between the 15th and 18th, energy begins to settle. If you have listened during the early shifts of the month, you may feel a stillness arrive. This is not emptiness. It is the divine pausing before the reveal. The energy becomes clearer. The right ones begin to notice. And those who were not meant to stay begin to disappear. This is not the time to chase answers. It is the time to refine your energy, to rest, to fast from distractions, to align your intentions with your actions. In nature, the eagle does not flap its wings endlessly. It rides the wind. It knows when to soar and when to be still. This is divine timing, not effort, but alignment. In the spiritual path, preparation is the key to reception. If you have not prepared your inner house, how can the sacred guest arrive? Confucius once said, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear." And in the realm of love, when your soul is truly ready, when you have released all versions of yourself that beg, chase, or shrink, the right presence will appear, not to complete you, but to recognize you. Divine timing is not about waiting endlessly for a person. It is about becoming the version of yourself that no longer fears solitude, because from that place, love is no longer a need. It is an offering. And so, these two truths, that the chosen must first walk alone and that all things unfold in sacred timing, are not separate. They are the same path. You are not being punished when things fall apart. You are being refined. You are not forgotten in your silence. You are being remembered by the stars. Let this moment be your turning point. Do not rush. Do not beg. Do not grasp. Instead, walk gently. Wait with grace. And watch how life begins to align in your favor. Because you are not just a woman waiting for love. You are a soul being prepared to carry it with wisdom. And that preparation, that sacred, often lonely journey, is what makes you unforgettable. When you arrive, there is a moment, quiet and unassuming, when the presence of a woman becomes a mirror. Not a mirror of vanity, nor of need, but a mirror of truth. It reflects not only who she is, but who the one before her truly is. The feminine, in her awakened form, does not demand change in others. She invites it simply by being. She becomes a mirror of destiny. When a woman carries herself with reverence for her time, her energy, her silence, something within the man who meets her is stirred, not because she asks for his attention, but because her presence confronts him with a choice to rise to the level of her clarity or to retreat into the comfort of shadows. This reflection is not created by beauty or charm alone, by alignment. She becomes an echo of what he could become if he chooses to evolve. And in doing so, she unconsciously teaches. If you are to walk beside me, it must be with intention, not impulse. With clarity, not confusion. The story is told of a sculptor in a quiet village who spent years shaping a single piece of marble. Many passed by, asking what he was creating. A statue, they asked. A monument? The sculptor only smiled and said, "Wait." Years passed, and still he carved in silence. When the statue was finally revealed, it was a mirror polished to perfection. The villagers were puzzled. "Why a mirror?" one asked. The sculptor replied, "Because I wish to show you the masterpiece already within you." So it is with the feminine that is whole within herself. She does not decorate the world. She reveals it. She forces the other to see, not her, but themselves. In daily life, consider the woman who no longer tolerates half-truths or fragmented attention. She does not scold or plead. She simply removes herself, and her absence becomes louder than any words. Suddenly, the man who once took her for granted must face what he is without her presence. Her boundaries, once mistaken for distance, become the very thing that teaches him about value. This kind of woman is not cruel. She is clear, and in her clarity, she becomes a force. Just as a river does not argue with the rock, it simply flows with such consistency and depth that over time, the rock is reshaped. Not by force, but by truth. There is a quote often forgotten from the philosopher Chuang Tzu. The one who truly knows how to lead walks behind, and the one who truly transforms does so without words. When a woman lives in alignment with her deeper values, she teaches without teaching. She guides without directing. Her stillness becomes a lighthouse, not shouting, not chasing, simply standing in quiet radiance. It is in this way that the feminine becomes the mirror of destiny. And in that reflection, some men will awaken, others will flee. Neither outcome is her burden to carry. She simply continues, steady as the mountain, deep as the ocean, reflecting only what is true. As she reflects, the path leads her into one final and sacred lesson to be ready for both love and loss. Many speak of love as if it were only sweetness. But the deepest love, the love born of spirit, not just flesh, comes with trials. It comes to test, to cleanse, and to elevate. It does not always come wrapped in permanence. Sometimes it arrives only to teach, sometimes to break open what was never real, and sometimes, only sometimes, to stay. The one who is spiritually prepared knows this, that to receive sacred love, one must be just as willing to let it go. This is the paradox of the soul. To long for connection while being unattached to outcome. There is a parable of a tea master and his guest. The guest, a noble warrior, entered with pride, boasting of victories and status. The tea master smiled gently and poured tea into the guest's cup, and kept pouring, even as the tea spilled over. "What are you doing?" the warrior exclaimed. "It's full," the master replied. "You come with your cup already full. There is no space for anything new." And so it is with the heart that clings it cannot receive. Spiritually ready woman is one who has emptied her cup of illusions, of old wounds, of the need to control. She does not beg love to stay. She does not panic when it pauses. She trusts that what is truly meant will never need to be grasped. In nature, tree does not mourn the falling leaf. It trusts the season. And though bare for a time, it knows the bloom will return. Stronger, deeper, truer. So, too must we walk through the seasons of love. There may be days when affection is plenty, and others when the silence is deafening. The one who is anchored in her spirit is not shaken by these changes. She understands love is not possession, it is presence. And presence must flow, not be forced. In personal growth, this means learning to observe without reacting. It means holding space for another's absence without losing yourself in it. It means letting go, not because you want to, because you trust the sacred rhythm that governs all things. The philosopher Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. To be free in love is not to detach from feeling, but to detach from fear. The fear of being alone, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of not being enough. All these must be met and released. And when they are, something miraculous happens. You no longer love to be validated. You love to expand. You no longer attach to prove your worth. You attach only to grow. And in this growth, even the pain of loss becomes sacred. For it is the fire through which your spirit is shaped. The woman who is ready for both love and loss becomes a sanctuary. Not only for others, for herself. She is no longer afraid of what may leave because she knows nothing real can ever truly be lost. What is aligned will return. What is sacred will remain. And what is no longer meant will dissolve, leaving only wisdom behind. And so we return full circle to the essence of feminine power. Not the kind that dominates or demands. The kind that waits, that watches, and that walks with both fire and grace. She is the mirror. She is the silence. She is the lesson. And the man who dares to stand beside her must not only see her. He must see himself, because she will not chase. She will not beg. She will not lose herself to be loved. She will reflect. She will allow. And she will remain, like the mountain in storm, like the ocean at midnight, like the soul that has seen both love and loss and still chooses to rise. This is the feminine he fears to lose, because she is not simply a woman. She is a mirror of what he could become, if only he dares to meet her where she already is. As this sacred scroll closes, let this truth rest in your spirit. You are not here to chase. You are here to remember. to align with moments in time when your energy becomes a doorway, and when he feels that door begin to close, he will rise or he will be replaced. But you will remain untouched by the chaos, because the wind may howl, the shadows may lengthen, but the woman who walks with fate knows. One divine timing arrives. Nothing can stop what is already written in the stars. Remain still, remain sacred, remain ready. The date is coming. Will you be prepared, or will you be chasing what was never meant to stay?